So, just a little background. Many of you probably know more historically the purpose of business is profit, right? Organization's bottom line, profit, how are we gonna make money? And, what? What we're seeing now is a lot of emphasis on corporate social responsibility and concern for more than just the bottom line. Of course, the money is important, but more than just the bottom line. And this isn't only from an organization's perspective. We see it from students. When you ask a lot of people your age what they're looking for in a company, besides something that utilizes their strengths and talents, it's usually a diverse company and a company that does some good for the world, or a job where I can do some good in the world. So this is really relevant, that ethical mindset. It's being ingrained in you guys as you grow up and through your education. In 2015, the United Nations member states came up with 17 goals to transform the world. So this isn't just a student and organization thing. The Sustainable Development Goals are a call for action by countries, poor, rich, and middle income, to promote prosperity while protecting the planet. They recognize that ending poverty must go hand in hand with strategies that build economic growth and address a range of social needs, including education, health, social protection, and job opportunities, while tackling climate change and environmental protection. So what you guys have on your table is one of those 17 goals. Okay, each table has one of those 17 goals. And what we're gonna do is an activity that's a fun and creative way for you guys to get in that ethical mindset, because for organizations to be ethical, the people must be. And what we're gonna give you is an organization, so you don't know your organization yet, your company yet, and once you have that organization, your responsibility is to design a product with your team that allows you to solve that goal or to achieve that goal. So do you want to talk about our example from?
Yeah. So as Dr. Dockner said, we participated in this activity over the summer at a conference, and we actually got the Sustainable Development Goal number 7, clean and efficient energy. So as we were tasked with ensuring universal access to affordable, reliable, and modern energy services. And the company that we actually drew was Levi. So as you can imagine, that seemed like a pretty big challenge for us to come up with clean and efficient energy. We ended up coming up with the product Power Pants. So basically these were jeans that people could wear. You could put your phones in them. They would use both friction and also solar energy to power your phone. So the idea here was that anywhere you were, you didn't need to have access to a power source. You could actually power your phone and have access to that. Or someone else. You could also help with someone else's as well. So our celebrity endorser, we had Shakira and Justin Timberlake. They're both pretty good dancers. They could put the pants into work. And our slogan for this was "The hips don't lie." So we actually had them for our product there. So that gives you an idea of kind of the things that you can do for this as well.
So what you're going to do is you're going to draw a company out of a cup. We want one person from each table. If one person from each table could come up and choose your company, and you're going to go a product that company can design to achieve your goal, and you'll have 7 minutes to come up with your product that you will share with everyone else.
We had a very hard one. We had to get Bush to help with quality education for children. So our product was called Smart Beer, and 10% of the proceeds go to Reading is Fundamental, and we are going to have a code on there to also donate to the organization if they feel so called to donate more, and there are going to be facts on the can for them to learn as well. We're going to solve the problem because we're helping donate money to someone who is very well inept in actually helping the cause, where us, like a beer company, is not so perfect at helping that, so giving the money to them so they can professionally do it. And we're going to have Kristen Bell, an actress, help us endorse this because she's very much into education.
Thank you so much. All right, look, we have this group right here. Who's our spokesperson for this group? All right, Justin.
We also had very challenging one about gender equality, and we did a product for Aldi, and it's called Trusty Teas. They are all natural tampons made for women, and it's at a discounted price because yeah, they're expensive, and I'm not very well versed in this, so. Our celebrity endorser would be Beyonce and Jennifer Aniston.
All right, we have this group over here in the corner. Who's going to be presenting for this group? All right, you got it.
Okay, so we had clean water and sanitation as our goal, and our company was Progressive. So for the products we came up with, we did kind of anyone who needs to switch over to a new insurance provider, and by switching over to Progressive, they'll match any rate that the other companies gave, and also a portion of the monthly payments you give will go to a clean water initiative. And how we'll solve the problem, I guess, is that they're donating to clean water across the world and organizations such as Charity Water. And our celebrity endorser is Flo. Keep it in the company.
All right, this team right here, who's going to be presenting? All right, let's go, Connor.
All right, so ours was very tough. We had McDonald's and drug abuse efforts. So our product is the McClean. It's a veggie burger. So this product will include chemicals and Narcan that trigger dopamine that will not want you to do drugs. So we'll help solve this problem. So people won't want to do the drugs or get that itch. All proceeds will go to drug abuse efforts. Our endorsers are Charlie Sheen and Demi Lovato. So they will explain how this product has saved them from their previous efforts, or their failures, I guess. And their slogan would be, "You'll be loving this."
Good job, thank you so much. And we have this team over here. Okay, Allison will be presenting.
Okay, hi everyone. So we have American Greetings, which is a card company, and our goal is to have zero hunger and end world hunger. Pretty easy if you're asking us. So our idea is to have the first world buy a card, and then the third world will receive a card, and that card is embedded with seeds and fertilizer that will be planted into the ground with instructions on how to grow whatever plant happens to be in that particular card. So our celebrity endorser are the Kardashians. Yeah. And if we were to write a jingle, of course, we would select Cardi B to write that jingle. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. All right, we have this team over here. Madison's going to be talking.
Hi everyone. So our company was Sherwin-Williams. They produce paint. I found that out today. And I'm not kidding. And our product name is Hot and Cold Paint, and basically it self-heats and self-cools. So you can paint your walls any color you want, but then you'll add like a primer on top, and that's what will heat and cool it. And how it solves our problem is it reduces the need for heating and cooling systems within your households. And our celebrity endorser is Katy Perry, Hot and Cold. So.
All right, we have this team over here who will be presenting.
Hello. So we have Apple and sustainable cities. So we came up with an iCar, self-driving car. It's good for the environment, runs on batteries. And our celebrity endorser is Will Ferrell, is Ricky Bobby from Talladega Nights. If you ain't first, you're last. So that's what we're going with.
right here.
So our goal was to reduce poverty in at least 50% of men, women, and children. We had Amazon, so we did Amazon Cares. So they're going to pick one social entrepreneur from each of the top 15 countries that are the most poor. And then they're going to start up a business, and 100% of the proceeds will go to that country for like a certain set amount of time. And then our celebrity endorser is Oprah, and then the slogan is, "You get a business, you get a business."
Nice. Great job. All right, this team right here, who do we have presenting?
Hi everyone, I'm Sam. Our goal was to increase decent work and economic growth. Our company is Facebook, so we wanted to create a separate section of Facebook called Facebook Opportunity, which is basically a separate section that allows people to communicate with employers, like young workers, communicate with employers, and make it more casual, the workplace. We want to talk about their salaries, and we think that this would increase salary transparency and just make the work process a little more comfortable. Our celebrity endorser is going to be Steve Carell, posed as Michael Scott, because he's all about building relationships with his employers, whether they're healthy or not, but we're going for that. And our slogan is "Opportunity knocks," so knock on the door and let it open.
All right, we have this team right here, and Alex will be presenting.
Alrighty, so our company was Walt Disney, and the goal was to provide affordable access to internet in least developed countries. So we came up with the idea to open up community centers that are Disney themed, that would provide Wi-Fi, computer labs, entertainment, and our celebrity endorser would be the Smith family, Will Smith's family, because apparently they are really awesome YouTubers and they have these great vlogs, so we thought that they would go into the community centers, kind of promote them, and then our jingle would be "Come inside, it's fun inside," because that is the Disney clubhouse saying. Yeah, so.
Great job, yeah. All right, well, this team over here, who do we have presenting?
Morning, guys. So we had our sustainable development goal was climate action, and our company was John Deere. So we decided to make a solar-powered tractor and solar-powered lawnmower named the Sun Cutter, and basically it was solved upon by reducing fossil fuels being used and carbon footprint from businesses and consumers. Also to our celebrity endorser would be Lil Nas X and Blake Shelton. And we didn't come up with a slogan, but if we had to make a jingle, it would be something like taking their tractor down to Old Town, their solar-powered tractor down to Old Town Road or something like that. So that will be our product. Thank you.
All right, this team right here.
Hello, my name is Allie. Our goal was reduced inequalities, so enhancing representation for developing countries. And our company was Subaru. So our service name that we came up with is called Suber, and we will be providing mobility to people in third world countries in order to get to their jobs. Our celebrity endorser is Vin Diesel, and our slogan is "Fuel for Driving Economies."
This team.
We got this. $1 billion idea right here. So, our initiative was responsible consumption and production, and we have Nike. So what we're gonna do is have a biodegradable sneaker called the Nike Roots. It's gonna be a little bit dirt-based, it's gonna be pretty awesome, but it's gonna survive for about 3 to 5 years and then just completely biodegrade. So once you're done with the sneakers, it doesn't add to the giant pile of garbage, it just goes right back into the earth, and it can be roots for a new tree. Our celebrity endorser, for the responsible production, we want to keep it on the cheaper side, so we're getting OJ the Juice Simpson, because he's not super high in demand. And All news is good news, and social media is gonna be buzzing when they see the Juice in a green jumpsuit with the Nike logo advertising these shoes. Thank you.
All right, who's up? Okay, Margaret.
Okay, so we had Under Armour and quality education. So we came up with an electro suit. So it's like a sweatsuit, and you put the hood up, and there's headphones, and it like activates your brain cells to focus. So better focus leads to more learning. So our celebrity endorser is Frozone from The Incredibles, and our slogan would be.
Put my hood up for this too. Honey, where's my electro suit? And that's our slogan. Thank you.
And we have our very last team over here.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jimmy. Good morning, sorry. So we have Target, which is the department store. Great place. I used to work there. So Target has the red card, and we were tasked to kind of prevent them from waste in the water. So we came up with the red bag, which is a reusable bag. Some quick facts for you. 10% of plastic bags end up in the ocean, so that's not good. Usually when they do end up in the ocean, fish eat them, also not good. And there's also 160,000 bags every second, also not good. So our idea was to make a reusable bag with a barcode so that people would scan the barcode, you'd get rewards, you could either redeem money or donate it to the water, which is good. So we decrease plastic bags, increase donations to clean water, and our slogan is the red way. Thank you.
Excellent, great job. I loved hearing these ideas from the different groups. So hopefully, our goal here was to get you, like Dr. Doctor said, to get you in this ethical mindset, to get you your creative juices flowing. You're going to be working a lot together in tables over the course of the rest of the day today. So hopefully, you've gotten to know each other a little bit better, and you'll be able to use these discussions, these practice going forward throughout the day today. So with that, I think I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Miguel.
Okay, that was fun. That was a lot of fun. Got us all the energy going here. And before we go to lunch, which is all set up for us here, I just want to let you know I'm going to be passing around at your table. It's like a values assessment because we haven't talked about values a whole lot yet, but values really underlie ethical decision making. And so this is just a couple of questions, things for you to think about, and then narrow down maybe your top 5, maybe 3 to 5 values based on some questions about times when you felt happiest or times when you felt proud. And it asks you to talk to your partner at the table to sort of get yourself thinking and share what you found. So I'm going to pass those out, but right now I'm going to also, while I'm doing that, you're all free to grab a lunch. Any questions before we move to lunch?
And my friend could not wait to introduce me to George because she said, you have to meet the real Mr. John Carroll. And we are lucky enough to have him here today. George is a human resources business partner manager for the Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland. Prior to his current role, George served as the Director of Human Resources for the Cuyahoga County Public Library. Before that, he served in human resource manager roles at the Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District, as well as at the Lubrizol Corporation. George is the president of the Board of Directors for the United Black Fund of Greater Cleveland and the president-elect of the Cleveland Society of Human Resource Management. George is a member of the Board of Directors for the United Way of Greater Cleveland and John Carroll University. George also serves on the steering committee for John Carroll University's Athletic Booster Club. George resides in Strongsville with his wife Tanya and his daughters Jordan and AJ. George regularly plays paintball and basketball. I am thrilled to introduce Mr. John Carroll, George Sample.
I don't know if I've been called Mr. John Carroll before, but okay, whatever. All right, we gotta get some things off the floor. O.J. Simpson? Really? Hey, those are great ideas. It was cool listening to the different product ideas you guys had. So the hot and cold paint, that was awesome. The seeds was amazing. What else? No plastic bags. What was over there? No plastic bags. But my favorite though, the McLean. The juice was just, come on. It's amazing. It's amazing. So I'm here to give a talk in regards to ethics. So apparently I have some. So we'll see by the end of this. This is going to be interactive. So we're going to be at your tables. So if you don't like who you're sitting with, move now, because you're going to be talking to them a lot during the course of this. There you go. So what is ethics? We've been going this, like, it was interesting to talk about, so Dr. Jack Malone started off with some of the big things you can do to kind of get fired. We're not going to talk about ethics at that level. We're going to talk about it at like an everyday kind of level, from the hiring process to performance management, things that as soon as you're in your organization, you're going to be kind of dealing with on a regular basis. So kind of those, and we're going to talk about the gray areas of it as well. There's a lot of gray areas when it comes to ethics that you're going to deal with on a regular basis, even if you're not in some huge accounting scandal. So give me the definition. I haven't heard the definition today of what is ethics. I'm okay with uncomfortable silence. I'm in HR. Somebody raise their hand. I want to hear a definition of ethics. This is an ethics boot camp. I need a definition of ethics. Somebody. There we go. Half a hand. I got half a hand going over here. Talk to the mic.
Doing the right thing when the wrong thing's easier.
Doing the right thing when the wrong thing is easier. Who else? Who else has a definition for ethics? All the way in the back of the room.
Making morally responsible decisions.
Making morally responsible decisions. Let me get one more definition for ethics. Since we're at an ethics boot camp, give me one more definition for ethics. Here we go. Let's take two more. Here and there.
Just doing what is right.
Doing what is right? Okay. Okay.
A moral code of conduct.
Moral code of conduct. So when we talk about ethics within an organization, so there are the personal ethics, and then there are business ethics, and one of the things is those don't always coincide. Now, sometimes you have your own code, but what's ethical or what's right for a business is different than what's right for us as individuals. I'm a Christian, so I have a certain moral code that I have with me at all times. However, that same moral code is not exactly the same as the ethical code for business ethics. So I want to make sure that we have that as kind of a common foundation. Another thing I want to talk about, though, is culture. Because when you talk about business ethics, you can't do that without talking about culture. So you talk about the culture of John Carroll. John Carroll, the tagline is men and women for others. So that's a really, really key thing about our culture here. And for me, when we talk about culture, it's those shared behaviors. People who have culture like on their website, on their walls and all that, doesn't mean anything. Let me repeat that. People have culture, well, our culture is this or that or this, means nothing. Culture is really the behaviors that are accepted within the organization. The behaviors that you see throughout the organization. The behaviors you see demonstrated by the leadership within an organization. So when you talk about ethics, and you talk about culture, to me, those things go really well hand in hand. Now, as we go through my next, I don't know, what does I have, like 3 hours? 3 hours and a half? Next like 30 minutes or so, I'm going to give a few different scenarios where they're kind of ethically borderline kind of situations. And I want you to talk about at your tables kind of how you would approach that situation, how you would handle that. And these are all things, because my last 4 roles have been all, well, 7, I don't know, I've lost count of my roles now. Can't keep a job. They've all been like in the HR space. So I'm going to talk about these more along lines of HR, what I've seen up close and personal from an HR perspective. But these will be things that you as managers and in organizations, if you understand them really well, they will help you career-wise. So let's just dive into it. The first one is from a recruiting perspective. So from the ethical standpoint, when you talk about a company post a job, it goes out there on Monster or Career or LinkedIn Jobs or wherever. You as an applicant, especially all of you going to be looking for jobs real soon. You're thinking that a posting on a website, you have a great opportunity, an equal opportunity to get that position, right? Yes, no, maybe? How ethical is it, the whole, and you've heard, stepping up a little bit, you've all heard it's who you know. Has anybody heard that? Raise your hands if you heard when you talk about his job, it's who you, every hand in the room, good grief. Is that ethical? Is it ethical for there to be preference for people who are known, and do you have a fair shot at those positions? But that's kind of a position that organizations are in all the time. So talk about your tables for the next 2 or 3 minutes. What role or what weight should It's Who You Know play within the recruiting process for organization? 3 minutes, go. What role should It's Who You Know, from an ethical standpoint, what role should It's Who You Know play within the recruiting process? There will be a quiz at the end of this.
Because you want it. What kind of show are you doing?
We'll have the discussion go for 1 more minute, and then I'm going to come around to tables and harass people for answers.
Change me aside.
Okay, so I'd like to hear from our group so we can come back to our larger group discussion. I'd love to hear the perspective of who would like to share what their table group discussion was on the is who you know. Is that an ethical way to do recruiting? Who'd like to volunteer kind of what they shared during the course of their conversation? Got a hand back here, then I'll go back here.
It's who you know is very important rather than it should, because none of the most qualified people are to get into the job that they deserve. And it should definitely be valued, like their history should be valued, but talking about real hire, but it shouldn't be like this.
Okay, so the answer here was, it's who you know has more gravity than it deserves. It should be a factor, but it shouldn't be the deciding factor. Had a hand over here. So it's okay to be used to get in the door for the interview, but not okay to hire people based off of that. Any other perspectives? And no right or wrong answers, because these are things that I promise organizations deal with all of the time, all the time.
I think sometimes knowing someone hurts them because you've had bad interactions with them, or you know what they're really like outside of the job application process, so it makes you discount their credentials because you haven't encountered them before. So it doesn't always work in your favor if you know someone.
The person who's known or the person who's being...
So like the hiring person knows the applicant
Yeah.
in ways beyond just their credentials, and even if their credentials are the same, they'll use their prior information as part of the decision.
Awesome. Let's kind of jump into that hiring decision. So lots of companies have employee referral programs. They'll offer you $500, bring in someone. What weight should that play when we talk about the decision-making process? So we've moved from like the recruiting process to now the hiring part. Like employee referral programs, especially talking about how do we tap into different sources of talent for our organization. What weight should an employee referral program have when we talk about your organization and making that hiring decision for the organization? Let's chat about that. I know that's a different wrinkle and pretty similar kind of vein. Let's talk about that employee referral programs and how is it ethical for that to have a disproportionate weight in regards to us making a decision in regards to a hiring process? Does that make sense? Clear as mud? So this one is a conversation around, so we talked about recruiting, now we're talking about the actual hiring decision. So if someone is part of the employee referral program, so there's current employees who are saying, hey, this person will be a good fit for our organization. What weight should that play within our processes for making a hiring decision? So moving from the just finding talent to now making a decision to bring talent into the organization. What weight should that be played into that hiring decision?
Like take 2 minutes, and then didn't really clarify. Good footage? Yeah. I appreciate it. What's up? I was just gonna move around, so I can get like a lower shot of like the people. I thought you were. Oh no. Gotcha. Yeah, I'm just packing up.
Just go. I don't need the microphone. Gotta give it.
An hour right now. Hi.
Hello. Why? This person's
Okay, one more minute before we come back as the whole group. Okay, so let me hear some of your thoughts in regards to that employee referral program. Like, how should that be weighted in our decision-making process for who to bring to our organizations? Any thoughts? Side.
I've had to give a referral, and it felt really bad when I gave a bad referral. So I don't know. I feel like it is.
Don't ask for a referral from her.
No.
She will give you a bad referral.
I mean, it's hard. You have to be honest because you want them to hire the best person, but you also can't just lie to them and have them hire someone that you know very well might not fit in. So it's a rock and a hard place.
So the comment was a rock and a hard place to talk about referral for employee because you want to give a accurate referral, but you don't want to be fair. Kind of other thoughts in regards to employee referral and how what weight it should play when we talk about that hiring process. Let's get to the next part of the process. So now you're hired. Congratulations. Performance management. So let's talk about ethics when it comes to performance management. And this is something I deal with way more than I'd like to. Where you have different managers. Each manager, any person who manages employees, they have a different skill set. So even if you have the same overall kind of culture, the same overall rules for the organization, each individual people manager will come at it a different way. They'll have different tendencies. They'll have different things, their pet peeves and whatnot. And they'll have different ways they evaluate the work that you do, especially as you go across different divisions within the organization. As mentioned, I work for the Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland. One of the divisions is our research division. So these are a bunch of policy economists. These are the folks who are doing research in regards to how the economy works. Another group that I directly support are supervision and regulation folks. So these are people who are basically auditing banks. They spend much of their time in banks in the field, and they are making sure that those banks are not going to cause damage to our overall economy. Now, as you can imagine, the economists and the person who is basically auditing banks all day, those are different kinds of folks. So as you talk about what is our consistent overall process of performance management across the organization, there are going to be some differences, especially for those who go into leadership in those different areas. They're going to have different skill sets, different proclivities, all that. So we talk about from an ethical perspective of employment at an organization, and how people are managed, and how things are fair for them. How do you balance in, or how do you measure in the differences in personal styles, personal proclivities, those kind of things that will be different from manager to manager to manager? How do you factor in those personal styles when it comes to managing performance? Talk about that in your groups for a little bit, and how do you factor in the personal different styles for managers? So again, it's how do you factor in, we talked about performance management, the difference of personal styles from one manager to another manager. So how do you account for different personnel styles, for different styles when we talk about the managers throughout an organization? How do you account for that? So the comment here was making sure you're aware of the style of the manager or what you're kind of required to do. How do you make sure that's fair? Is that ethical? Is that fair for within an organization? Oh, you need the mic for this one. Give me this one here.
So like if you're in class and you have two different professors and one grades harder and one doesn't, obviously the one who doesn't get the better grade, but you have to work harder in the other one. It's just what you're dealt with, so you just kind of have to deal with it, I guess. Maybe not.
Well, that's a great answer. That's the building block for something I want to talk about a little bit later. Other thoughts in regards to different?
Not to put the onus on HR, but on some level, HR can help train supervisors to make fair judgments. Or you can't maybe chase all the bias out of the process, but if you give them principles to follow, hopefully it'll help make more reliable judgments from manager to manager.
Yeah, that's the key thing, because some of the things we're going to get into in a little bit here, it gets into ethics because some of the more processes that are more detrimental to a person's livelihood, we talk about compensation, discipline, determination. Those processes that happen up to there are a building block. And that's how we've been kind of going through it in this kind of order, from the recruiting part to the hiring part, the performance management part. Then when we get to these later parts of it, of your kind of your life cycle in an organization, those set the foundation. Is the organization putting in processes that are going to be ethical, or they're going to be appropriate, and they're going to treat everyone across the organization the same way. And that's one of the key things when you talk about ethics. Are all different groups having the opportunity to be treated the same way within an organization? So let's talk about some of those other parts of the process. The first one, discipline. So if we know we have managers who manage differently depending on their own personal preference, the way they've come up through management, which department they're in. How does, going back to HR or people managers, how do you make sure that you are consistently and fairly treating employees throughout the organization in the same way? So if person A does something, person B does the same thing, are we making sure we're treating people in those situations the same way? That's a key thing you talk about fairness and equity across the organization. So I'd like you in your table groups to talk about how do you make sure you can ensure, or you can't ensure, how do you set a more fertile ground in your organizations to make sure that discipline is a more consistent thing within your organization? So again, you talk about the organizations you would go into, what would you want to do to make sure that discipline is a more consistent thing within your organization? Take like 2 or 3 minutes in your table groups to talk to me. Okay, we'll come back together as a bigger group. So, what do you do for your organizations to make sure there is quality, there is sameness when it comes to discipline? What do you do for your organizations to make sure that's in place, to help put that in place? Nothing?
Back here. We said that there should be guidelines implemented, and those guidelines should remain consistent across the board for all employees.
Should I say it again? Okay, what did I say? I'm kidding. There should be guidelines implemented across the company, and those guidelines should remain consistent for all employees. Yeah.
All right, everyone hear the comment? Every organization I've been in has guidelines. They're never consistently applied. Say more.
We said that in order to make sure communication stays relevant in the organization, that when something occurs, instead of waiting to tell them and later on, it should be brought to the table. discuss then, like the policy that needs to be implemented. So don't wait till they're, what period?
So we're talking about the evaluation.
Yeah, the evaluation period. Don't wait till then. Stay communication, like right when it happens.
That's a good time. I'm glad you brought that up. So, what's your name?
Madison.
So Madison brought up the evaluation process. So most organizations, they have an annual review process. So you work for 12 months out of the year, and at the end of the year, your boss takes an hour to sit down with you to tell you if you did a good job or not. That's kind of how it goes. Sometimes in that process, people find out things for the first time at that evaluation process. This is a regular occurrence. I've been at 4 different organizations. I've been in the workforce for an amount of years. That happens at every organization that I've been at, where people will find out things for the first time at their evaluation, including things they've done wrong the entire year. The entire year. So when we talk about from an ethics standpoint, are people being treated fairly and appropriately? That's a big question. Other thoughts in regards to how you can more evenly make sure that discipline happens within your organization? Thank you, Madison. Other thoughts? Because this is a big one. I want you to spend some time on this one.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So in the academic world, students can evaluate faculty, faculty can evaluate deans, faculty can evaluate the provost. Does that happen commonly in the business world, where the employees are evaluating their supervisors anonymously?
So the question was, in the business world, do the employees have the opportunity to evaluate the managers, the bosses, so forth and so on? It depends on the company, depends on the culture. A lot of companies will have what's called an ombudsman line or ethics hotline, where they'll be able to call in regards to people who are higher up in the organization. I will say, by and large, that is not an avenue that's used on a regular basis. A lot of times people will come reach out to HR because they feel helpless, they feel powerless, because their manager is responsible for their rating, which is their livelihood, which is their compensation. They're responsible for all those pieces. So there's less safety within organizations, for the most part, than you will see in an academic environment. And that's a really important thing for all of you to consider as you talk about going into the work world and keeping these things, these concepts top of mind. You being able to spend time on a Sunday to really think about ethics boot camp, I know it's a Sunday, it's your weekend. However, if you really understand these parts and how they interact with you in your career, they're going to be hugely helpful for you in regards to how you're able to navigate your career. So now we're talking about the discipline part. Let's talk about the other part. Compensation. Compensation could be a really, really cool thing for you if you are navigating the career process well. However, compensation is another part where sometimes it's not handled, we'll call it equitably across an organization. A few different examples. For every organization, most organizations, once you get to a certain size, you get beyond your product, like your core product, and then you start having support functions. You need them. I'm in HR. HR is a support function for the business. Each business is in place, been in 4 different businesses, 4 different organizations. They all sold something different. So Lubrizol sold chemicals, the sewer district sold clean water, the Cognitive Library sold access to information, and the Fed sells money. We sell money. I'm not even kidding, that's the business. But all those, that's a core business, that's a core thing. And you have the support functions that come along with that. And none of those organizations have not been in the core business. Now I've been in the support function. So when you talk about compensation and impact on the business, how do you make sure that the people who are in the support functions are being compensated correctly? And also, when you talk about compensation, getting outside of the support function to the core business, if you're on a sales team, and you know that there is X amount of bonus pool per the year, and you know if you make your numbers, you're going to get that big bag of money, but there is a fixed number of dollars that are available, are you going to help out Madison when she also has the same sales target? There are a lot of cases where incentives are created in such a way where they cause competition within organizations that's sometimes instrumental. So we talk about ethics and how one behaves and how one supports their team. What standard are you going to hold yourself to? Are you going to help Madison meet their numbers? Are you going to make that connection for Madison? Or are you going to shut that out so you can make sure you get the big bag of money at the end of the year? Which is a key thing. So, let's talk about compensation. I'm not sure this is one we can easily toss a table conversation. Because that's one of those things where for every organization it's going to be different. But it is a key thing to really keep top of mind in regards to how do we think about different parts of the organization and how they're compensated throughout the organization. So we'll skip the table conversation for that one. The last one we want to kind of hop into is leaving organizations. Some people leave because they find a new great opportunity. Some leave because they're terminated. And I can tell you for sure, all the organizations I've been at, when you look at the overall termination stats, some groups are disproportionately ejected from the workforce. I can tell you for sure that workers, once you get above, let's call it 55, age discrimination is for real. And then when you try to get back into the workforce, it gets tougher and tougher. I can tell you that from personal experience because those people often, either a friend or a friend that says, hey, reach out to George, he'll help you. And I can't tell you how many times I've had the conversation with a person who's had 30 years at a factory, they got a high school diploma, they got out, made all this money, yada, 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 got laid off, now they're 55, can't find anywhere near that same amount of compensation because they don't have the credentials. So going back to the initial question about termination, we talk about ethics in regards to termination of an organization. How can we think more ethically and more clearly about how we separate people from organizations? Is it okay for us to eject someone because they are more senior in their career, when you can bring on someone who is much earlier in their career and you can pay them half as much to do so? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. I'll first talk about it in table groups in regards to the ethics around termination. Then we'll talk about it as a bigger group. Spend 2 or 3 minutes talking about the ethics of termination.
We have to spread it back.
Last time I did It shouldn't be too long, but this is pretty wide. Just catch
Okay, we'll go 1 more minute because I talked too long and our time's running short. So I'd love to hear thoughts in regards to, what do we do to make sure that we are ethically handling the termination situation for organizations? Any thoughts? Sure.
Okay, so our group talked a lot about the balance between ethics and the law in this case. So I think a good place to start would be to make sure that your managers know the different laws that apply to termination and things like that, and how there's like age laws out there. There's all kinds of laws. So I think a good place to start would be to just educate all of your managers that have the ability to terminate somebody and tell them like how you should handle that.
That's a great point. When you get to the point in your career where you're a people manager, there are so many laws that apply to you. So making sure that you are aware of that full suite of laws, because whether or not you know they apply to you, and you can get caught in a place where you're costing your company a whole lot of money if you're not aware of how you should be handling those different laws that come to being a people manager. Thank you for your comment. Other comments? I'm gonna let y'all off the hook because I'm over time.
Hire ethical people.
Yeah, hire ethical people. Just in summary, I wanted to walk through these kind of real life examples. We talk about ethics in the workplace. You being aware of how, not the huge Enron scandal, but how these kind of things are going to come into your workplace, in your life every day for every employee who's in this room. Some of the things we talked about today will be things that you will encounter. Be a part of the hiring process, be part of the performance management process, be part of the compensation process. All these things we've touched on today will be parts that you will be a part of either as a manager or as an employee throughout your entire career. So as you go through those parts of your career, think about it from your thoughts, from an ethical standpoint, and also your organization. Because each different organization you go to will have a different set of ethics. So being able to understand and see what their ethics are, seeing if they align with your ethics, and be able to go from there. Thanks so much for your time. Hope you enjoy the rest of the camp.